Hey there, this is Peak of the Week. It's your shot of spiritual caffeine to get you over the hump of the week. I can see that you can see my baby gate behind me, my puppy gate. I want to talk about prayer. I put a post out a couple of days ago and it was ACTS, which is something you may know about. It's a tool, an acronym that you may have used for years. But I think there's an issue that I'm certainly seeing, I would say, in the church among Christians, and I want to address that in a minute. But you may be someone who feels like prayer doesn't work, it's discouraging, I feel like I have to pray a certain way, if there's sort of this piety involved, super religious, whatever. Or you feel like there's sort of one lane that you can stay in regarding prayer. And I think there's just a lot of misconceptions around prayer. So I want to use that ACTS acronym. And I want to help us understand why you may be feeling frustrated, why you may be feeling like, what's the point? Maybe you pray on the fly as your steady diet of connecting with God. And I think sometimes we're kind of bored in prayer, to be honest. That may not be you, but I think a lot of times it is. And I think this ACTS that's been around for a long, long time is maybe one of the reasons. So let me say this. ACTS is an acronym, and here's what it stands for: Adoration, Confession, Thanksgiving, and Supplication or invocation or pleading with God. And a lot of times we use the word requests. But it's asking for something. And I want to add the word silence in there, okay? With the S, supplication, I want to add silence. Now, you can comment and tell me if you think, and I asked this question the other day, do we tend to spend a lot more time on one of those areas? If this skeletal structure for prayer, ACTS, is something you know really well, yeah. My question to you is, do you do it? Do you use it? Sort of like saying to a singer, breathing is the foundation of singing. But you still always have to go back there like, of course, breathing is the foundation. No one's going to disagree with that. But you forget to breathe. Singers forget to breathe all the time. I used to be a professional singer. That's why I know these things about singing. So let's talk through ACTS, because maybe, again, as I mentioned, you have all kinds of misconceptions around prayer. A, adoration. When you're praying, spend time adoring God. You have it in your head, but do you do it? Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be your name. Spend time adoring God. I used to think, oh, what are you, buttering God up? I know you can feel that way, right? No, just spend time focusing on God. Adore God. Adore Him. Basically praising Him, right? Adoring God is praising God for who God is. Not for what He does, that comes later. But for who God is. God, you are faithful. God, you are holy. Oh God, I praise you. Whatever. And you spend time adoring God. And you need to take sober assessment of yourself. Do you do that? A. C. Confession. Now, I will say my Catholic brothers and sisters spend maybe a little more time on this piece. And then certainly Protestants tend to, maybe not all Protestants, but a certain variety, evangelicals, for example, tend to spend way more time, we avoid confession. We don't talk a lot about that. Confession. God, I cannot believe I just said that. Oh God, search my heart, I see, and show me things. Show me things I would rather not see, but I know I must. Confession, spend time in confession. T, thanksgiving. Thanksgiving. Do you see how adoration is focusing on God? Confession is focusing on yourself and you're confessing, or your community. And you're confessing to God, okay? So that is about cleansing out your soul. Thanksgiving goes back to God, God, I'm giving you thanks for this and this and this. And so you spend time thanking God. One of the women posted a couple days ago and she said, I just spend all day thanking God. Awesome. And again, I can't remember who it was, but you may be on right now. But thanking God. Spend time thanking God. Actually, a lot of times I instruct people who tend to focus so much on this fourth and final point to maybe just spend an entire day or an entire week. If you are lacking in this T, Thanksgiving, if you find yourself lacking, spend an entire day not asking God for anything, but just give thanks, give thanks, give thanks. God knows what you need. Give thanks, and maybe an entire week you need during Lent. Give thanks, give thanks, give thanks. Practice that. Giving thanks. ACTS is supplication or invocation. It's where you are now saying God. Now let me say this. I also add the word silence in there. Why? Because often we are requesting of God. We are saying, God, do this, but we are not listening to God. It's a dialogue. Prayer is a dialogue. We're not listening to God to prompt us to pray in a particular way. We just start dishing it out. And is that totally wrong? No. But if that's your steady diet, just God, do this, and God, we need this, and God, I would just strongly suggest add silence to your diet of prayer. ACTS, supplication, silence. Listen. What is God prompting you to pray for? Some things are obvious. Of course you're praying for the Ukraine right now. Of course you are. And the needs in your life. Is it okay to pray for the needs in your life? Yes. And if it's all about you, get out. Look up, look out, and pray for others. Okay, supplication. That is a skeletal structure that I have found very helpful. If your prayer life is dry, if you tend to pray on the fly, I would just strongly suggest find a place, even if it's for 5 minutes, and use that ACTS to go back to prayer again. One final thing, or go back to the fullness of prayer. I think some of the dryness, some of the boredom, is because we're so focused on that S often, or again, for a lot of my brothers and sisters on the C, the confession, we don't have a full balanced picture, portfolio, steady diet of prayer. But ACTS, that acronym that's been used for forever, it can really help you go, oh my golly, I'm really not spending any time in adoration. I just jump to supplication all the time. Whoa, what's happening there? And that will get old really quick, really quick. So I would just suggest that today. One final point that I want to make is this: pray as you can, not as you ought. Don't be the dutiful woman. Just go before God, adoring Him honestly, confessing honestly, truthfully. Don't use fancy language. It's why I have a prayer chair, because then I can look straight ahead and just talk in a way that's authentic and real and honest, as though I'm talking to a person. Can I see God? No. But it helps me just be honest. You know what I mean? Get it out. Say it, state it clearly and simply. Pray as you can. You don't need fancy words. You don't need fancy spiritual, super spiritual language. You need to say what's on your heart and listen to God's heart. That is a conversation with God. Thanksgiving, confessions in there, of course. And then, yes, supplication. But if your whole steady diet is supplication, praying for everything, for yourself and others, not good. Not good. All right, that's enough. Peak of the week. Shot of spiritual caffeine to get you over the hump of the week. I hope this has been helpful. Hey, comment. I want to hear what's going on in your prayer life. I want to hear if you're dry. I want to hear if it's boring. I want to hear if you're disillusioned. I want to hear from you. I want to know you. And but this is your shot of spiritual caffeine to get you over the hump of this week. God bless you.